Coming up, teenagers arrested after shots fired outside of D.C.'s Union Station as workers started heading home from the office. What do we know about the suspects and the condition of the teenager hit by a bullet?
Winter is relentless this year. So far, January and February have been quite chilly, and we've had a lot of storm reports out there due to the wind. We'll talk about those coming up.
Not apologizing. President Trump says he condemns, but did not see the racist depiction of the Obamas before posting that controversial video on social media. What he now says is backlash grows from leaders of both parties. And new details into the deadly chain reaction crash involving a Northern Virginia police cruiser. The driver killed, now identified as investigators weigh in. And game day savings to satisfy your cravings and your wallet. We're stretching your dollar.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good Saturday evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for DC News Now at 6 o'clock. I'm Ben Dennis, right to your forecast with meteorologist Scott Sumner. Scott, it is brutally cold on this DMV firstborn day and nearly knocked over by a gust or two in Old Town Alexandria today. It kind of took my breath away, really.
Yeah, I had to hold on to the steering wheel for myself driving into work this afternoon, and we'll continue with that DMV first warn through the overnight hours and into tomorrow. That is going to be in place still due to the cold and the wind still hanging around. Look at these storm reports here. There have been multiple storm reports, all wind reports, by the way, across the area with wires and trees down, as well as one tree that was reported to be down on a house. We sent out a crew. At the time the crew got there, didn't find anything, so maybe that was all cleaned up, but still, nonetheless, damage out and about in across the area. Look at some of these peak winds this afternoon. D.C. at 60 miles an hour. In PG County, right around I-95, 495 area, wind gusts at 62 miles an hour. Upwards of 72 miles an hour in Watersville in Carroll County. So yeah, very, very blustery. This is just a couple degrees off of minimum hurricane force winds, category 1, that is. Now, factor in this morning some of those wind chills, my goodness, down into the negative 20 range here at Accident in McHenry. That's out towards Garrett County and some of the higher elevations there. Sabillsville and Frederick County, Maryland, 17 below. Madison in Madison County, 15 below. In D.C., still very chilly, not quite double digit, but still -3. Right now, we still have that wind out there, and it feels like 2 degrees under a beautiful sunset. If you're indoors, of course, 20 degrees is what we have as far as the temperature, and that 20 is going to drop in half down to about 10 around 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Not that you necessarily will be up, but some of you may be on a Sunday morning that early, and at that point in time, the wind chill is going to be in that negative range again. -4, -5 degrees for D.C. So, yes, we've got a very cold night ahead of us. Look at this. The overnight low getting down to 9 here in D.C. Yeah, that is pretty chilly, but have no fear. There's a little positivity in the forecast coming up. We will finally get above freezing for a couple of days anyway. We'll talk about that with the full 7-day forecast in just a bit. Ben?
All right, Scott, thank you. Remember, you can stay on top of this dangerously cold this weekend. Go to our website, dcnewsnow.com/weather. You're going to find current conditions. Get that hour-by-hour forecast and check on the radar. All right, more local news tonight. New details after teenagers were arrested following a shooting yesterday outside of D.C.'s Union Station. A 15-year-old victim continues to recover from their injuries, and D.C. police rushed to Union Station just after 4 p.m. after several shots rang out. That 15-year-old was sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. It was U.S. Capitol Police, who are assigned nearby, who reportedly stopped 2 teenage boys. D.C. police arrested them, saying one is a 17-year-old from Northeast, the other, 16 years old, from Southeast, and they're both charged with assault with a dangerous weapon. A gun was also found on scene. Police are asking anybody with information to call D.C. Police. New tonight in Fairfax County, police have identified the driver who was killed in yesterday's chain reaction crash in Braddock. Authorities say 57-year-old Darnish Bakhtiani died after his sedan crashed into the back of a police cruiser, which was stopped at a red light around 1 p.m. at Braddock Road and Prestwick Drive. That cruiser then crashed into another vehicle in front of it, and that vehicle then hit another. The officer and 2 other drivers in those damaged cars are expected to be all right. Police say witnesses reported seeing that driver speeding, driving recklessly before that crash, and investigators are looking into whether alcohol contributed to it. Health alert tonight. Prince William County emergency officials say some residents are asked to boil their water for 48 hours after what's being called a water supply disruption. It's the affected area here. Prince William Water issued this advisory for the Carters Grove subdivision and Hoadley Manor Estates. Take a good look there. Visit DCNewsNow.com with some tips for people to know about water safety in those affected neighborhoods. Well, the winter weather proves difficult for many people, but apparently not for several Buddhist monks. They're still walking to the nation's capital right now, all the way from Texas. They started months ago. They've just hit Prince William County, Virginia. One local campaign is working to stop human trafficking, meantime, in Maryland. Montgomery County is launching an initiative known as Look Before You Book. It aims to help people make appointments at real massage and bodywork businesses. County leaders say that they've charged 13 spa owners linked to human trafficking and exploiting workers since June of 2024. Here are some red flags to look out for: usually low prices, unusual hours, and a business with several restricted areas.
Community members must know what to look for and where to go for information. That's what this campaign will help you do.
Are currently 46 fully licensed massage and bodywork centers in Montgomery County. DC News Now is your local election headquarters. Virginia has taken a major step closer to potentially redrawing congressional district maps right before the midterms, when control of Congress is up for grabs. Governor Abigail Spanberger signing her first bills to potentially, in one case, create 10 seats that likely may favor Democrats and one likely leaning toward Republicans. Virginia Democrats say this plan is to respond to Texas Republicans working to redraw districts to likely favor the GOP. But in Virginia, the Commonwealth Supreme Court now has to rule on the legality of the redistricting efforts. If they do approve it, voters will decide on the proposed maps in April.
I want to make sure that every voter knows that there is a referendum, that it is not in November, and what their choices are, and really understanding that this is an amendment that is meant to be temporary and it's meant to be responsive, and that there's a map that they can observe and make a decision moving forward.
It's really mind-boggling. The first bill that she would sign is one that is going to take a step in the direction of one of the most breathtaking political gerrymandering exercises in Virginia and perhaps American history.
Governor Spanberger also signing legislation for voters to decide on 3 constitutional amendments on November the 3rd. They're to enshrine abortion rights and same-sex marriage in the Commonwealth's Constitution, plus restore voting rights when convicted felons finish serving their sentence. All right, major changes could be headed out the door, and for DC's tax code. The U.S. House of Representatives voted to block the city council's efforts to stop tax cuts put in place by the One Big Beautiful Bill, something that President Trump championed. City leaders say these changes would mean the district would lose hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Our Max Marcilla explains their biggest concern is how this will ultimately hurt families.
District leaders say the current D.C. tax code would cost the district hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue that would go toward programs that would help lower and moderate income families, including an expanded earned income tax credit and a child tax credit program that was just implemented. Congressional Republicans, though, they're trying to block this change. They are saying that these tax cuts from the One Big Beautiful Bill were meant for every American. They range from corporate tax cuts to individual policies like no tax on tips and overtime. And while a few states are doing what D.C.'s trying to do in decoupling federal and local taxes, well, of course, those states don't need congressional approval. D.C. does. Here's Senator Rick Scott of Florida, who's behind the Senate version of this bill.
It seems obvious that the D.C. Council of Democrats would love to undermine every single move President Trump makes, every promise he keeps to the American people. But to deliberately deprive residents of the opportunity to keep more of their hard-earned dollars is simply unfair and absurd.
Mayor Bowser says this potential change would be an intrusion on home rule. She also says it would have a huge impact on tax filers in D.C. Look, the window is already open, and if you filed your taxes, the mayor says should this change go through, it's likely you'll have to refile them. We asked about the impact that this could have to the D.C. Fiscal Policy Institute. Here's what they say.
We know that there will be months-long delays, lots of confusion for families, and of course, more community outreach to update the public on what to do. And all of that is unnecessary.
The bill just passed the full House on Wednesday, and it passed a Senate committee as well. Now it's up to the full Senate. Reporting on Capitol Hill, I'm Max Marcilla. Back to you.
Our thanks to Max. Make sure to tune in to Sunrise on the Hill with host Hillary Howard and Corey Smith. You can catch Max there as well. Sunrise on the Hill airs every weekday morning from 6 until 9 here on DC News Now.